Okay, so the first 3 sutras of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali defines what yoga is and the purpose of it. Now first we can read Atha yoga anushasanam yogas chitta vritti nirodha tada drashtu svarupe vastanam. Atha is a sacred syllable in Indian tradition. It means now. From now onwards, after you've done certain preparation, you are ready for the study of yoga. Anybody can, of course, pick up the book and inquire into the practice of yoga. According to Patanjali, it's good to have some preparation. And according to Vyasa, the commentator, he says that our mind may be fivefold. It may be kshipta, vikshipta, muda, ekagrata, or nirodha. Our mind may be scattered. It may be distracted. It may be dulled or stupefied. Or it may be focused or restrained. And it's of course in the later 2 stages that the mind is truly fit to practice yoga. Yoga is a beautiful thing. And the word yoga can mean 2 things. Yujir yoge, yuj samadhau. Means to bind 2 things together, or yuj samadhau, to be in a state of yoga. And that is of course the overall meaning of yoga, that there is a state within us that is pure, that is free of disturbances, that is clear and it's steady and it's the source of our consciousness. The other meaning is to join 2 things, to move from darkness to light, from unclarity to greater clarity, and that is the practice of yoga, to come home and to realize that state of inmost purity within you. Now, according to Patanjali, yoga is an ancient tradition. Yoga anushasanam. Anushasanam relates to a previous tradition. And in the modern world, anybody are commentating on yoga, and there's good commentators and there's fanciful commentators. But for yoga to be real, it has to touch the very essence of yoga. And according to Patanjali, there is a purity of essence within us. That is the source of our consciousness, and it's that which we're trying to awaken and make steady through the practice of yoga. What stands in our way is the fluctuation of the mind. So in the 2nd sutra, Patanjali says, Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is restraining the fluctuation of the mind. Okay? Now, the mind is a complex thing. It's a composite of many factors. And whatever we experience of the senses, whatever we experience of in our thought faculties, all of this happens within the mind. But as the very source of the mind is the Purusha. And according to Patanjali and the Sankhya Yoga tradition, the dualistic system of Purusha and Prakriti, the oneness and the multiple of plurality, is what exists in a symbiosis. And this symbiosis kind of needs to be understood, it needs to be mapped out and articulated, and then it is easier to gain an experience of that ultimate unity that yoga is. And when we succeed with that, tada drashtu svarupe avastanam, then the seer abides in its own nature. So we see here how Patanjali defines the seer and the seen. The seer is that inmost purity cognizer, the one that observes, the purity of witness. The seen is everything we think, label, and categorize. When we're able to kind of clear up and understand and see through the fluctuations of the mind and come to an insight of unity, when the seer, the purity of consciousness, come into its own nature, unaffected by all the fluctuations of the mind, then we have truly understood what yoga is. And then the seer abides in its own nature.